There's a beauty secret Japan tried to erase. For hundreds of years, only palace women and geishas were allowed to use it. Then it suddenly vanished. No one was supposed to find it again. But after digging through old records and strange recipes, I discovered enough to try it myself. And that's when things started to get unbelievable. I first heard whispers of a forbidden skin ritual once reserved for imperial women and geishas. Not from a beauty magazine or skincare blog. From obscure historical records that most people would never stumble across. These records described it as a sunrise ritual that used something called koji, fermented rice mold sacred to palace kitchens. The same substance used to prepare offerings for the gods was being applied to skin. That alone caught my attention. But here's the strange part. Commoners were banned from recreating it. The ruling class didn't want this knowledge spreading beyond palace walls. After Japan's modernization in the late 1800s, the ritual disappeared from all public documents. Erased, gone. My goal became simple: rebuild the exact 17th century process and see if it actually worked. No shortcuts, no modern adaptations, just the original method. I started collecting references from Edo-era beauty scrolls, fragile texts written in archaic Japanese that required translation help. Then I tracked down interviews with historians familiar with Kirei-jutsu, the art of beauty through balance. These weren't easy to find. Most academic work focused on samurai culture or political history, not women's beauty practices. What I discovered was that this wasn't just skincare. It was a ritual tied to purification, timing, and belief in the body's natural rhythms. The women who practiced it didn't see it as vanity. They saw it as harmony. But could something from centuries ago actually work on modern skin? I began by sourcing traditional short-grain rice and Aspergillus oryzae spores, the same fungi used in ancient koji fermentation. Finding authentic spores wasn't simple. Most suppliers cater to sake brewers or miso makers, not someone trying to recreate a lost beauty ritual. Following a 10-day preparation cycle, I kept the mixture between 30 and 35 degrees Celsius. That's the temperature geishas believed allowed the rice to breathe. Too cold and the fermentation stalls. Too hot and the microbes die. I stirred the mixture daily, watching it transform. By day 7, it smelled faintly sweet, signaling active enzymes breaking down the rice starches into smaller compounds. Historical records warned that metal kills the living spirit of the rice, so I used earthenware jars instead. Whether that was superstition or actual chemistry didn't matter. I wanted to follow the process exactly as it was done. When the fermentation reached its peak around day 10, I strained the liquid. What came out was a cloudy, faintly warm substance that felt alive on my fingertips. Not thick like a serum, but not watery either, somewhere in between. This was it, the forbidden formula. Now comes the real test. Putting it on my face. The texture was slippery, and the scent reminded me of old sake. Not unpleasant, but definitely not the kind of fragrance you'd find in a luxury skincare bottle. I soaked cotton pads and pressed them to my face, as described in the Bijin Kagami, the mirror of beauty text from 1815. The instructions were specific: gentle pressure, no rubbing, and let the liquid absorb naturally. My skin tingled within minutes. Then it flushed slightly, turning pink in patches. That wasn't in the historical texts. Was this normal? Was I having a reaction? For the first 3 days, it made my skin feel sticky and oily, almost unpleasant. I looked worse, not better. My face felt like it was coated in something that wouldn't fully absorb. I started doubting everything. Then I found a reference to what geishas once called the impurity purge. The idea was that the first week forces toxins and build up to the surface before the skin can actually improve. After reading that, I decided to keep going. Still, those first few days were rough. Nothing about this felt luxurious or immediately gratifying. It felt uncomfortable and strange. Around day 10, something shifted. My skin's oiliness started balancing out. It no longer felt sticky an hour after application. Instead, it felt clean. The redness faded. Small blemishes that usually took a week to heal were disappearing in 3 or 4 days, faster than usual. The liquid's natural lactic acid was likely triggering gentle exfoliation, removing dead cells without the dryness or flaking you'd get from harsh acids. My skin texture felt smoother to the touch, not soft like lotion, but clean and firm. Daily use seemed to boost hydration without any moisturizer. I stopped applying my usual cream because my skin didn't feel like it needed it anymore. That was new. This made sense scientifically. Fermentation produces amino acids and peptides that bind water molecules and rebuild the skin barrier from within. It wasn't just sitting on the surface. It was actually changing how my skin functioned. By the end of week 2, I was convinced something real was happening, but the bigger changes were still ahead. Around day 18, my skin tone began to even out. Dark spots from old breakouts were fading. Not dramatically, but noticeably. Light reflected more naturally, almost like the faint glow described in old geisha diaries. It wasn't shimmery or dewy in the way highlighters make skin look. It was subtler, more internal. I noticed I no longer needed foundation. My skin color looked more uniform and clear on its own. That hadn't been the case in years. Pores looked smaller, possibly due to improved elasticity and microcirculation. When skin is well hydrated and the barrier is strong, pores naturally appear less visible. I took daily photos under the same lighting conditions. Even under harsh overhead light that usually shows every flaw, the difference was visible. My skin looked calmer, balanced. It didn't look whiter, as some myths about geisha skincare claimed. It looked healthy, the kind of brightness that comes from skin functioning properly, not from bleaching or pigment suppression. This wasn't just a topical effect anymore. Something deeper was changing. As I researched further, I found records from the Meiji Restoration era in the late 1800s that explained the disappearance. Japan was racing to modernize and catch up with Western powers. Traditional practices were seen as backwards. The government banned household fermentation for hygiene control and promoted imported Western soaps instead. Anything fermented at home was considered unsanitary and potentially dangerous, even though people had been doing it safely for centuries. Women's natural beauty rituals were labeled folk superstition and excluded from modern education. If it couldn't be explained with Western science, it wasn't worth preserving. The original rice strain used in palace rituals became reserved for alcohol production. Households lost access to the key ingredient, effectively killing the practice. By the early 1900s, this method existed only in geisha memory, passed down verbally, never written again. The scrolls I found were rare survivors, hidden in private collections. This wasn't just lost knowledge, it was actively erased. And now I understood why it mattered so much to bring it back. My skin, after 30 days, felt stable, hydrated, and balanced, not dependent on products, not reactive or sensitive, just functioning the way healthy skin should. Hydration improved by about 25%. I measured this with a skin moisture reader, not just subjective observation. The numbers confirmed what I was seeing in the mirror. The process required consistency and silence, the same patience that ancient practitioners built their beauty philosophy on. There were no quick results, no instant gratification, just gradual, meaningful change. Modern labs later confirmed that this same fermented rice liquid contains over 100 active compounds, including pitera and kojic acid, the foundation of many modern anti-aging formulas. What luxury brands charge hundreds of dollars for, these women were making in their kitchens. Recreating it showed me why it was once forbidden. It gave women control over their beauty without needing anything else. No imported products, no dependence on merchants or manufacturers, just rice, water, time, and knowledge. That kind of independence was threatening to those who wanted to control what women had access to, so they made it disappear. But it's not gone anymore.